Most people who get hit with these fines never saw them coming. They bought land, they moved out, they set up exactly the kind of life they had planned. Then the county truck pulls into the driveway, and suddenly they're looking at $250 per day in penalties. That's $7,500 a month. And the county isn't stopping until you come into compliance. Sometimes it's not even about what you built. It's about the permit you didn't know existed. A rain barrel, a composting toilet, a septic system that's been there for 40 years. The fine doesn't care. Cape Coral, Florida, 2014. Robin Speronis disconnected from the grid. Solar panels mounted. Rainwater collection functioning. 18 months of complete self-sufficiency in a duplex she owned outright. Then code enforcement arrived. They never stepped inside. They deemed her home unsafe for human habitation anyway. $50 per day and fines for non-compliance. The violation, not being hooked up to the city's approved water supply. The paradox, she could maintain the connection without using it, but the connection itself was mandatory. Robin Speronis was a former real estate agent with 2 55-gallon cisterns and a functional life. What she didn't have was the right paperwork. Here's what most people don't understand. Living off-grid isn't illegal in this country, but implementing it can be crushed by laws that differ wildly by location. Laws most people discover only after the inspector's truck pulls into their driveway. The systems themselves often aren't banned. The lack of paperwork is what triggers enforcement. International Property Maintenance Code violations, local health department jurisdiction over water and waste, building code requirements written before modern off-grid technology existed. The people who get fined aren't trying to cheat the system. They're trying to live sustainably and independently, colliding with bureaucratic structures designed for a world where everyone plugs into municipal utilities. So here are the 5 violations that carry the heaviest penalties, the ones that turn self-sufficiency dreams into legal nightmares. Number 5. Rainwater collection systems without permits. Ancient practice. Free water falling on your own roof, onto your own land. What could be more logical? But in Colorado, rainwater collection was entirely banned for residential use until 2016. You could be fined for catching rain that fell on your own property. Even now, Colorado has strict limits on storage capacity. 2 rain barrels with a combined capacity of 110 gallons maximum. Many counties nationwide require permits for larger rainwater harvesting systems, with the threshold sometimes as low as 100 gallons. Robin Speronis had her rainwater collection cited as a code violation, despite its functionality. The solution isn't to avoid rainwater collection. The solution is to call the county health department before installing any storage over 100 gallons and ask one specific question. What is the permit threshold for rainwater collection in this jurisdiction? That call is free. The fine isn't. Number 4. Composting toilets without health department approval. Modern composting toilets are NSF certified, engineered for safety, odorless when properly maintained, and environmentally superior to conventional systems. They consume no water. They produce usable compost. They seem like the obvious choice for off-grid living. But composting toilet regulations vary drastically from state to state. Many states have no codes for them at all, which doesn't mean they're permitted. It means they exist in regulatory limbo. New construction seeking alternative wastewater systems usually requires explicit permission. Some states allow only NSF certified manufactured models, rejecting DIY systems outright. Health departments can issue stop-use orders, and the daily fines begin immediately. One case in the Pacific Northwest, a homeowner installed a composting toilet without checking local codes. The health department issued a stop-use order. The daily fine started at $100. By the time the homeowner navigated the appeals process and installed a conventional septic system, the accumulated fines exceeded $12,000. Before installing a composting toilet, contact the health department and ask, can a composting toilet serve as the primary sanitation system under current code? And if so, which models are pre-approved? That exact question will get you a direct answer. Number 3. Unpermitted septic systems. Rural properties often have existing septic infrastructure. It seems grandfathered in, safe, functional. But unpermitted or failing septic systems trigger some of the steepest penalties in off-grid enforcement. Daily fines range from $100 per day to thousands depending on the state. Homeowners face fines of $50 to $500 per day from local health departments routinely. In Texas, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality can levy fines up to $2,000 per day under Texas Water Code provisions. And if an illegal system contaminates navigable waterways, Federal Clean Water Act penalties apply, up to $25,000 per day. Do the math. At $200 per day, a 90-day delay equals $18,000 in penalties, often more than replacing the entire system would cost. The solution: get a septic inspection before purchasing property. For existing systems, verify permit records at the County Environmental Health Office. Pull the permit if one doesn't exist. It protects you. Number 2. Disconnecting from municipal utilities where connection is mandated. You own the land. You have functioning alternative systems: solar power, well water, septic. Why pay monthly fees for utilities you don't use? Because in many municipalities, the International Property Maintenance Code mandates that homes be connected to the electricity grid and a running water source. City codes may allow living without utility power, but they still require hooking the home to the city water system. Alternative power sources must be approved in advance. Some municipalities charge every resident for water and sewer, whether they use it or not. You must maintain the connection, even if you never turn on the tap. Robin Speronis lost on this exact point. The magistrate ruled she could use alternative power, but only with city approval she'd never sought. She could theoretically avoid using city water, but the connection itself was non-negotiable. The legal reasoning: habitable means connected, not just safe. Before disconnecting anything, review municipal code. Ask: does this jurisdiction require maintained connection regardless of actual usage? Number 1. Occupying a structure without a certificate of occupancy. This is the master lock. All previous violations often trace back to this single document: living in a dwelling that was never certified as habitable. A certificate of occupancy requires approved water systems, waste systems, electrical systems. City code enforcement can deem a home unsafe or unfit for human habitation and occupancy without ever inspecting the interior. Failing to obtain necessary permits leads to fines, legal action, or mandatory removal of unpermitted structures. Out of 48 violations brought against Robin Speronis, she was found guilty of 45. And this was the foundation. Almost none of these setups are illegal everywhere. The illegal part is the missing permit. Before moving in, confirm a certificate of occupancy exists, or determine the pathway to obtain one with alternative systems in place. Here's what code enforcement doesn't advertise. In most jurisdictions, you can legally live off-grid, but you have to ask permission first. The difference between a $5,000 fine and legal compliance is often a single phone call made at the right time to the right department. Non-compliance leads to fines, legal challenges, potential removal of structures. But many counties have approved pathways for alternative systems if you engage with the process up front, before you dig the first hole or mount the first panel. The walls exist, but they have doors. So what actually happened to Robin Speronis? The structure proclaimed uninhabitable multiple times. She spent 5 weeks in jail on charges that were later dropped. The magistrate's ruling revealed the system's internal contradiction. She could use alternative power, but it needed city approval she'd never sought. She could theoretically not use city water, but had to pay to maintain the connection. She doggedly refused to connect to the electrical grid or city utilities. She ignored hearings. The cost wasn't just fines. It was time, legal fees, jail time, stress, all avoidable with a different strategy. Most off-grid code enforcement cases don't end in dramatic courtroom victories. They end in compliance, negotiation, or relocation. The actual answer isn't defiance. It's research local codes before purchasing land. Call county building, health, and planning departments. Ask about approved alternative system pathways. Pull permits even when they seem unnecessary. Document everything. The people who succeed at off-grid living aren't the most defiant. They're the most bureaucratically fluent. In the end, this isn't about freedom versus regulation. It's about knowing which questions to ask before you dig the first hole. Because in a genuine crisis, when the grid actually goes down, the difference between a legal off-grid water system and an unpermitted one isn't philosophy. It's whether the county can condemn your shelter when you need it most. The walls exist. This is the map to go around them.